How do I invite people from this then? Valley now, so there ain't no pop in from it. Let's see. So that looks good. Okay, a little bit of a delay, no biggie. I will just mute myself on there. Post. All right. Do a little bit of start off on this then. So I'm essentially just testing it out, see how the stream's working for now then. One of the guys in the mail I was looking for. Essentially a big gold golem. So compared to the other guys, he's actually quite huge. In fact, he comes into a bunch of smaller pieces I got to put together and glue. So right now I'm going to take care of the big part because I'm assuming the largest reason they have all these things into the smaller parts is because of the detail in between them, like sticking the head into the next slot for it, everything else like that. Like it's huge compared to the other guys. So just go ahead and get started with a little bit of it. Taking some primer. Let's put a little bit on it. There. And where is my thinner? There. Make sure we get a nice, really thin coat for it. Bigger brushes. A little bit more surface tension with it. Let's pull it all in. So that looks good. It looks like it's thin and runny, and that's more than likely because it is. I'm going to go over with a few coats from it then. You want it thin because if you're going too thick with it, then you start losing the details into it, like the cracks, the crevices, and everything else like that then. So I want it runny the first one through. So when it adheres the first time, there's something for it to grab onto when I start painting for it all together. So then there's a textured surface, and then if I want to smooth it out or anything else like that, just come in, another coat on top of it. Another really thin one from it. Man, these guys are huge. It takes maybe about 5 minutes for it to dry most of the way through. The primer is pretty good about it then. Just a happy little cloud. Yeah. A couple people watching right now. See you guys out on the chat. I don't know if that's me watching, maybe the other feed, so I can see how it's delayed from here. Essentially just testing it out right now, see how it is. I'm debating on a color for this guy, because right now it's supposed to be an iron one. I'm thinking maybe going to go with something like a marble-like stone, where it's really kind of beige. It shows up, and maybe have a bronzing for it then, so I can start putting in like copper and rust and stuff like that, so he looks like an old guy. He's been around for a while. All right, stand him up. All right, and I'm using the big brush, like I said, just to get all the surface stuff with a really thin coat to start off. When I come in and I start doing the smaller layers for it, I'm going to take a smaller brush so I can get in. That way, I can have some of it still peek through, so I don't need to glob up everything. With the thicker ones, I'm going to go over with it from here. All right. So it looks pretty good so far. A little runny, but that's all right. That's what we want for them. First coat, we just want it as thin as we can so it has something to get here and give a texture to. For that then. Biggest one though is to make sure there's no air bubbles for it then, because that'll pop and ruin everything up underneath of it for it. All right, so that gets pretty good. So it looks like I actually am going to need quite a bit more primer for this. Looks like I'm mostly gone with it actually. So dip a little bit more. A little bunch of the thinning fluid on there. So I'm going to move you off the TV for right now. A quick tap for this. See, other stuff still on there. Yeah, see? Still nice and thin. So, what should I do next? Let's go for the main body, the other really big part of it then. So I've got it stuck on this. So I can kind of manipulate it from here, because if I do that, pushing it from here, I'm going to get fingerprints all over it when I go to paint. This is usually a good setup for most of the regular sets up for these, because it allows you to manipulate it at a whole bunch of different angles from it without actually touching it directly from it. You have it at a point of base, which you can manipulate it around from there. It's quite fun. So a lot of the people do the painting and stuff like that then. This is one of the Bones figures actually, and I know one of the big ones they talked about was because of the way the plastic for it is made, that it's a lot harder for some of the paints to just apply right onto it then. That it's not so much that they don't set onto it, as sometimes when you do the paints onto it, that they tend to glob up in certain ones and pool and run in weird ways from it then. And they say that's because of the way the plastic actually is altogether. See, some parts are really thin, like this part right here, this little clip for the neck from it. It's almost see-through even with the paint onto it then. And I'm going to come by. It's definitely going to be one of the metal parts in here. So I don't know if I'm going to make it fully opaque from it, give it a black base after I do the priming for it then, or if I'm going to go through it and make a copper, make it shiny. So it's got more of a matte and metallic look underneath of it then. I did that with the treasure hoard I made. That came out really good for all the colors from it. So instead of using a black base, it's just like copper coins underneath everything from it. Then just paste on top the copper. And then even if you have a really thin one for, say, silver or the gold or anything else like that, then copper's popping through from it then and giving it a base color up and underneath. So you don't even notice the differences between them altogether from that then. All right, so this back is a little bit more thick from it. Let me try here. There we go. Just dab it a little up in there. Get too much. Pull it. There are other areas from that then. Assuming going through the neck and some of the other ones, like setting the head onto this then, the head fits in really loose with it right now. Like you can pull it out. And I'm thinking about whether to leave it like that. Because I kind of want to make it so I can use this guy in multiple ways. And this guy's already bigger than pretty much everyone else. His head is about the size of a regular person's head, and the regular miniature scales for it. So, if I can pop the head off, I might think of creating a base for it. The character himself is just a disembodied head, which I think is a cool idea. And that looks pretty good then. I'm definitely going to have to go over another coat with that one then. Seeing some of the stuff on the back then, I don't think I scrubbed that guy too well the whole way through with him. So he's definitely showing some pocketing areas with that. Trying to get a drop of it out and it gets stuck. There we go. Alright, this is one of my workhorse brushes, so I don't really particularly care if this gets dirty. I usually end up cleaning these, the larger ones anyways, with turpentine, as well as acetone sometimes to get the thicker paints out of it. Cleans up pretty good from it then, but I don't think this will ever go back to the kind of straight bone white that they were when I originally bought them back in high school, actually, and that's about 10, 12 years ago. It's crazy. But still come out pretty white most of the times from it then. Still pretty good looking. This one's a lot easier to do. I think it's because it's all curved for it then, so the paint kind of just wants to run from the top side to the low ends for it then right away. So this is nice. So I think it's going to be mostly just pulling the thicker stuff across from it. Make sure I get his knuckles right at the top here. So that's the inside of the fist. Let's see, about 15 minutes before I got to take off for the game. So I think I can get the priming done for this then. I'll review the video afterwards. I don't think there's really anyone watching except for me right now. It's going through with this, but I'll review the video, see if the lighting's bad for it then. See if there's anything I need to pick up, like focus it in, or anything you guys want me to do for it altogether. All right. So that arm is done. I'll send you over there to drop the other ones. Let's go grab the other one. I also think it's a really good idea to start with the big brushes first then, because if you do all the tiny ones from it, you may run over places that you've already done because it doesn't take up as much paint. Trying to get everything with that first loose base layer for it. Speaking of which, looks like I need more paint. So that should be good enough for the finish of that. And then let it drop. Maybe a little too much. I think I trimmed that too much. Let's see if I can pull it. Yeah, I trimmed that too much that time. Okay. Just a single drop of the primer. Normally I use the airbrush for this then, but the O-rings are kind of run out on it. So I'm going to try and replace those first for it. Get the armpit a little bit. I'm really going to see when he's fully put together at all, but I guess so he sticks a little bit better for the arms. The arms aren't as loose as the neck and the torso. I'm not too worried about that, but still, I think it's when I paint it, looks like it's all uniform together. the same kind of way. Now, big one I'm looking at right now looks like got a little bit too much in his fingers nodes here. Let's see. Yeah, I thinned this paint way too much. A lot of bubbles going in and just kind of pull it out with one of my straightening brushes. These little disposable ones to throw away. Usually use this to clean up a model or strip off paint that I don't like with it. Dipping it in rubbing alcohol, which surprisingly works really good. Using it on a lot of other stuff too. When I make take off the paint on magic cards for the foil proxies, for tokens and whatnot. I use something stronger like the acetone to pull those up. There we go. Yeah. Just looking at the camera now, I think I'm going to have to pull that back just a little bit, or a little inwards. Shows what I'm trying to do. Maybe position right above my head or something like that. Maybe right in front of me. So you see my hands like this the whole time. If I need a camera guide for that, though. Let's see. All right, so the primer on that one's pretty good. Let's see. A little bit. Move you here. By the way, let's go back to the torso. Torso is pretty well dried. Looks like some of the thicker parts need to pull up from it. Here. Should get that detail from it then, so it doesn't pull off, lose any of it. So that'd be the worst thing to do with the primer. Get all these really cool details and edges, go over them with too thick a paint, and lose all that detail. So when I do start actually painting it with the colors, there's nothing to paint, show off from it at all. This paint thins out as it dries forth then. Just pulling out all the places where it has bubbles on it. Like I said, if it seals up with the bubbles, you get a really bad texture, and I don't want that. I mean, this guy's going to be a rust bucket probably. I figure out what I want to do with him, but at the same time, I don't want him to be a rust bucket and paint the metal layers onto it, because I want it to look clean with the rust on top of it, as it were. There we go. The legs look like they came out pretty good for that. Yeah, I think the legs right. Look at there. Yeah, I can still see the plastic underneath some of it then. So definitely hit this up a second time. Definitely around the feet, but the thighs and the calves look like they're set up pretty well. There's a little bit there. A little bit there. There's hair on here. That hair out. It's probably my hair, long hair. Let that guy sit and dry. Now go to the last part here for this live stream then. I'm going to go ahead. So after this, I'm going to do the itty bitty head right here, this little guy. If I can show him, if it shows up on the camera. Huh. Yeah, I probably won't show up. I was too focused for it. Either case. Yeah. A little bit different with this one because the face is going to be one of the big ones you see. So I'm going to wet this down so it has the thinner for it. So it gets into all those for it. These rivets on the side of his head, I want to make sure those don't disappear because they're itty bitty bitty bitty. Definitely thinking bronze for this mask. I think that would be the best way to go for it. And maybe lighten it up with a little bit of silver trim so it looks like it's worn right around the edges of the face. All right. Those air bubbles out. It's nice and smooth. Come back and do a second coat on top of it, right on top of the scalp itself. All right. I think we are good. Now, all right. Well, now I'm going to let us go ahead and let these guys dry. Clean up a little bit of the primer that's left over from it then, and that's on the brush. I am going to go to my D&D game. We'll catch you guys later then. You guys have a good day.